This is a show about facing fear, unlocking courage, and taking action.
Courage isn't necessarily a daunting thing.
It's going to give you more purpose. It's going to give you more drive.
It feels like making a courageous decision is going to get you closer to who you aspire to be.
It's knowledge plus faith plus action equals courage.
If we are successful, there will be more women in leadership roles, and they can act as role models for my daughter. I hope she knows she can take any path that she wants and know that she can be a leader in any field and anything that she does.
I think the proper place to start this conversation is by handing over a digital birthday cake, not birthday cake, digital cake with one candle that says, congratulations on your 1-year anniversary.
Thank you.
Because you've officially been at Female Quotient now, right, for a year.
Year and a month.
Year and a month. I'm a little late. I was in Costa Rica. Come on. I mean, I would have given it to you exactly on the day.
It's no, thank you. It's.
I mean, let's start with the obvious question: is what cake would you want if I gave you a cake?
Oh, Fudgy the Whale.
Oh yes, you are like straight shot to the heart, my friend. Well done. The second question is more of it's Schulweis, right?
It is Schulweis.
When people blunder it, how bad do they blunder it?
Oh, I've gotten quite a few variations of that. I think the biggest botch is Schulweis.
Schulweis. Do you even know that they're talking to you when they say that?
No. I mean, I guess yes, only because it's actually one that I've heard a number of times, to the point where it's very interesting, because now, like, if someone does get it right, I make a point in saying, like, thank you, and that I'm impressed. But as a result, I am now very aware of when I don't know how to pronounce other people's names, and I don't necessarily assume. I always ask, and the question is always very well received. That people really appreciate you asking, and not like, throwing a dart, just being like, I guess this is what it is. The art of asking goes a long way.
The Art of Asking is a good title of an article or a book that you should consider thinking about. But I didn't think we were going here, and I was being cued on. Obviously, these were the first questions that one would ask. But I will say, I have a cousin. You're giving me a great moment, because I've never dropped them on the podcast since I get to do it. I have a younger cousin that's like a brother to me. I've got an older brother, and then I've got a younger cousin that grew up with me, Big Red. But their names, they are the Chvotkins. Chvotkin. So what the Chvotkins do is, anytime they make a restaurant recommendation, they've surrendered and they just put it under Chase. And that's so big shout out to the Chases, to Big Red Chase. So are you dropping Schulweis, or do you just put it under a different name when you make a resi? I guess we're not really calling in anymore, are we?
We're not calling in. Sometimes I do call in, but I've tried to make fetch happen. I stick with the Schulweis and always like spell it out and do S's and Sam. And whenever I introduce myself too, I always introduce myself first name and last name. My hope is that by repetition, at some point in time, it will be a household name.
We've lost the entire audience. It's a courageous last name, everybody. It is. But let's get to it. Like, I actually think the bigger curiosity to me is, we're joined by the chief commercial officer at the Female Quotient, and you've been there a year now. When you walk around that office, I'm also very curious about remote work for your company. Like, are you in offices? Are you back in offices?
We are. We've got a bunch of our employees in New York, a bunch that are in LA, and then a handful that are kind of outside of that. We do encourage in-office work together. It's not every day. It's like 2 to 3 times a week if you are in commuting distance. If not, we try to encourage people to come in once a week. But we are definitely, big believers in balancing what, our employees need, but also balancing culture and the type of camaraderie and the type of work that can only happen when you are in person. And we do see the value of that because we started as an events company. And one of the biggest pieces of feedback at every FQ lounge we have is that people can feel the vibe and the energy and how valuable they see the lounges to be in getting to spend real quality time with one another. So it is, I think to a degree, a true manifestation of like living our values and living our product.
I want to get back to what an FQ lounge is. I think we should go there, but so we don't lose part of the audience. But talk me through the role of chief commercial officer. Like, what exactly does that entail for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's, I would say it's like a cousin to chief revenue officer. We have tried very intentionally to not be overly salesy with any language that we have. My background is I've held pretty much every revenue generating role at publishers and media companies. But, for me, it is partially, and how this kind of manifests at Female Quotient is a big part of my job is also as an individual contributor seller and going out and getting partnerships, growing relationships. I'm also managing our partnerships team. But I also, I do a lot of work with our leadership team in operationalizing a lot of the structure of not just the team, but also the company, how we think about goals, how we think about margins, how we think about new products, how, anything that would fall into the commercialization of a business is kind of like within my purview. And also as a small company, everyone does also wear lots of hats. And so I love that because I've never fit neatly inside of any one bucket or type of role. I also like hiring hybrid talents because I think that's like the type of like deep generalism that where people really thrive. It gives you context and perspective on how to kind of think outside of the box.
I mean, I think let's cut to the chase on this one a little bit, right? For the audience, right? It's like, so you're 13 months in. When the Female Quotient job, the idea of the job lands in your lap, is your first thought, oh, I'm probably on a list with 2 other women and I'm not going to get this job, but this is interesting? Are you thinking, wait a minute, is this the right idea? Is this the right place for me? Is it like visceral tip of the iceberg before your brain allows your brain to do what your brain would do, which is to like, just the visceral thought, like, how did this come to you?
It was a very major like cognitive dissonance moment because to your point, like knowing what I know now, like looking backward, it's like very hard to remember exactly what it was that I was feeling at the time. But I wasn't like sure at first because it was when I would talk to people about it, they were like, you're a guy, and I was just like, yes. I was like, I appreciate that. Thank you. Yes. And, it was definitely something like I had to get over and I had to be able to see through. And I think it was very important to actually like go through that, not exercise, but like to go through that full stage of realization and emotion around the role, because I think what that has allowed me to do is really embrace the fact that like I want to be a male role model for other men in the industry that are coming up or even that are senior in the industry, or we can say it's like I am proudly an advocate and an ally and I want to do something, and it doesn't matter what the name of the company is. But the work that we're doing is so important, and that men also play a very crucial role in advancing the mission forward. There can't be a echo chamber that, conversations exist within. Like men have to participate and really care. And, what I've seen over the last 13 months, more and more men come into the lounges, more and more men be supportive of what Female Quotient is doing, sharing a lot of our content. We're inviting more men into onto the stage, on our stages to speak, beyond what we used to do as just like a mantle, which was just kind of like, poking fun at it. But the reality is it's like there are a lot of men that are doing great work and that want to speak and participate. And, I think it allows us to really expand what it is that, Female Quotient does and what we stand for. And the other piece too that very quickly resonated with me, which is, I have a 4-year-old daughter.
Totally.
And so and when she was born, that was the biggest heartbeat moment in the world for me, where it was just I was a changed person after the second she was born. And I want to make her life better. One of the things that I've always said at, FQ and here, it's as a parent, you always think that you need to prepare your kid for the world. And what I feel is now my responsibility, my privilege here and now is that I can go try to prepare the world for her. And that there's a lot of power in that. There's a lot of emotion in that. And, for my daughter and for my son also, yes, I, as a dad, I'm going to, help prepare them for what, life may bring, but to get to work for a company that is trying to create a better world, for them is pretty special. And so I've also never worked at a company that has this degree of true mission and purpose.
Yeah, I think I'm definitely of the mindset that the universe gives you what you can handle. Maybe that's the optimist in me, but when I think about my own kids, and when I started this journey with courage, right? I thought it was more of a devious business card. I really did. We were based in San Diego. We are based in San Diego. And, I'm as a creative company, which is how we started, I'm we're not LA, we're not New York. We have to make people irrationally fall in love with us if they're going to choose us, because we're just if you fell in love with the way we thought, and then you had to go to your boss and you don't have the ammunition, they're who are they? Where are they? Just use someone in New York. So I remember when I originally went on the journey for my book, Return on Courage, that was the intent. And then of course the universe did what it's supposed to do. And you're oh, I'm writing the book first because I need the book. Followed by, I have back then a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old watching every move I make. And I'm not going to ever tell them to go live a courageous life, but if they so choose to live it, here is the blueprint that you can go do it. And so in the spirit of that's what the universe decided to throw my way. I mean, not only do you have a daughter, you have a son, you have a wife, right? Your wife is probably go lead that charge. Here's what life is really like for me. You've got a daughter that you're trying to pave the way for the future. You've got a son who's hey, this is how we need to show up in the world, right? It's not about man or woman. It's about humans and humanity.
100%.
But that hasn't always been wildly accepted. If you think about your career, you were at, and again, this is not to vilify other companies you were at. I've been in I'll call them above the neck companies. Transactional empathy wasn't the thing. I did my New York City years. I was terrified of many people's offices that I had to go in. It forced me to be good at my job. But you think about your time back at Live Nation or in other places. And I think one of the things you had shared with me is that, oh, you know what, Jason, you got to chill with wearing your heart on your sleeve. Maybe compress a little bit of that. I mean, am I getting this wrong?
No, you're spot on. I mean, even as early as when I worked at Yahoo in 2010, we used to do these quarterly reviews. And I swear it was quarter after quarter after quarter was that I wear my heart on my sleeve. And there was a degree of being very like emotive and very empathetic and just, emotional, but like I was passionate about what I was doing. I really, really cared. And that's a value that like I look for in people now. Like I look for people who can operate at the intersection of kind, smart, and passionate. And if you can do all three of those things, chances are I will hire you. But and that continued, throughout. I was put on a PIP at one point at Live Nation because, I was just generally like, outspoken and very passionate about a lot of things. And, over time, I learned how to harness that and control that a little bit, because this more senior that I got, the more people were looking up to me. And I appreciated that responsibility to then show like, it is okay to be emotional and passionate, but here are good ways to do that. Here are the right times to let it kind of show, where it's like, it's not like the Wild West when it comes to, letting your emotions fly, but there are times and places. And, I think learning the hard way, what that is kind of like allowed me now when I am in, the C-suite, that I have been in the last couple of roles, I can really lead by example, and I can show people the way, and that there is a good way and like a acceptable way in the, in the workplace to really lean into what I've grown to kind of like see and appreciate are generally referred to as like, either soft skills or even, feminine qualities of leadership that I think are the most important ones.
I'm kind of racking my brain a little bit on, is it possible that imposter syndrome is nothing more than when you finally get a moment to be in a position of influence, all the bad habits you learned along the way, you're like, no, I don't want to be this type of leader. I want to be me. We don't say it that way, but that's kind of what it is. Like I thought, and you're like, well, is what got me to the chair the fact that I did follow the direction and maybe lost myself a little bit because you're on a PIP, right? Or don't wear your heart on your sleeve, or is it, and now you're there, you're like, wait a minute, I don't want to, this isn't who I want to be. Can I really lead by example from this chair? Do you play, like, was that part of your journey?
I think absolutely. And to your point, it's just like, it's, the universe kind of giving you the things that you need, and you may not really know that at the time. But I do think a lot of the challenges and or hardships over the years absolutely like made me who I am. I think if you don't have bad managers, or if you don't have those sorts of bad experiences, you can't as easily identify if other people might be going through certain things, or how you as a manager act and operate, if you don't necessarily know how you may have felt in certain situations. I think in order to have empathy, you need to have that sort of lived experience. And so I'm grateful for, a lot of the some of the BS that I've, I had to endure over the years and in varying roles, because it made me more aware of, how to make sure that I can break some of those cycles being in a position of leadership.
You talked about you've had feminine qualities of leadership. I'm like very terrified to know what this means. I'm like, what is it? What do you mean by you had? Should I be offended, Jason?
I don't think so at all. I think those are like a lot of what has previously been described as like, soft skills. Empathy is a big one.
Yeah.
Like, emotion and passion, are big ones. And it's like, there are so many of those that are just incredible leadership qualities. And it just really comes down to getting over the fact as a man, like there's nothing wrong with having feminine qualities of leadership.
In some ways, they're just qualities of leadership. Like they should
100%
be qualities of leadership. But on the same side, is it? I also don't want to offend anyone, because I see myself as an empath.
100%.
right? I feel like these are like what makes great leaders is ability to like meet people where they are and actually listen. And so that's interesting though. Now where you are, because you've been in business for a little bit. So like, do
Yeah.
you feel like we've finally turned the corner on this, or we're nowhere near?
I think you're seeing more and more general like acceptance of this, and a lot more, you know, male leaders, exemplifying a lot of these other qualities, which I think is great. But I think we're still a ways away from that being the norm.
I totally agree, and I'll give you an example. So this week, I was always very involved in the creative community in San Diego, and put a dinner together last night, and it was like sort of my way of just starting to like reintegrate back and connect some people. And to be fair, all the leaders that that I had invited, it was just like it wasn't overthought. It was just, let's get together, let's catch up. We had a pandemic. Who knows where we're going with DC right now? We don't need to do that right now. And then when we all got there, it was 6 white dudes and one woman. And my friend, she was like, "Can I invite some more women to this?" And we're like, "Absolutely, yes, please, absolutely." And I didn't feel like, I felt a little bit of like, "Oh God, I'm the problem," right? I did feel a little bit of that, but I think that's the point. Is it wasn't intentional; it was an unintentional moment, and my own blinders. Right, I need to have the awareness of this as well.
And I think and our CEO and founder, Shelly, says she's got a lot of really great insights around some of that, and the whole concept too of like unconscious bias. And as soon as you are conscious about being unconscious, like then you are conscious. And so now like that's something that you are very probably hyper aware of now. Yes. And not something that like you would allow or let happen again. And so that's like, from being, I think, a conscious leader, I think that's a great example of like, now you can actually, impact and affect future outcomes.
Female Quotient's been doing what they've been doing for, I think, 11 years now. This is what I love most about the space is this is not like, let's throw this down to HR. Right. This is about transforming the landscape of business leadership, right? This is about the C-suite. It's the investment in that arena. And Female Quotient has really led the way, in my opinion, from what you shared in this space. Can you share a little bit about like the wins?
Yeah. I mean, from the very beginning, I think one of the wins was ensuring, to your point, that, the conversation is happening at the CMO level, the CEO level, the board level, and is not being delegated to an HR team or a DE&I team. Like this has to do with how companies exist, what they believe in, how they show up for their customers, and how they show up internally. And so it really is a leadership conversation. That's, I think why we've seen so much success in showing up at CES for a decade, Davos for a decade, South by now, we're possible, Cannes Lion. It's some of the biggest events and conferences in the world. We have the best space at a lot of these events where we are packed from open to close. We have some of the best, most impressive speakers and attendees coming through our lounges. Anyone who has ever been to one of our lounges, one of our activations, I think would all tell you the same thing, that there is a vibe, there is an energy, there is just a caliber of human and leader that attends and speaks in our spaces that is second to none.
If we were going to get in my time machine, and let's go forward. Let's not go back right now. Let's go forward 5 years. Yeah. And let's say, for purposes of this convo, and by the way, you can go, the company is 11 years old, so we could also do 11 years. Let's say we fast forwarded 11 years from now, and somehow I'm on my 1,000th podcast now. And
Mazel tov.
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, you guys are, it's a mission. It's a actual mission. There is focus that's needed when you're on a mission. So I wonder, like the FQ Lounge, there might be almost like a good, better, best. Like there has to be, to your point about the vibe, just these pure collisions that are happening.
Yeah.
People, right? Pure collisions, conversations, connecting, networking, right? And you hope that then like the next bubble is what? And then so if we took this out a decade from now, like what does success look like?
Yeah, we are already across 30 different industries and in 100 different countries. And a lot of that expansion actually came during COVID, where, when everyone shifted to virtual, FQ was one of the first companies to do it. And I think held 800 virtual events during COVID. And that was a really great way to grow our community internationally and get really good at content. If we look outward in 11 years, give or take, I think going into even more industries, even as niche as they may be, and that can be law firms, that can be real estate, the real estate industry. If you look at all of the industries and sub-industries, there is a place for FQ. There is a place for our content, and there's a place for our experiences. That is really exciting to me. Like we can continue to grow responsibly across industries and across geographic zones. I would say that's kind of like thing one. The other piece, which is really exciting and, a big opportunity for us and a big reason why, I'm in this role is because of my background in media and content. We have an amazing digital audience and community of almost 7 million. It is the largest community of women in business in the world. Like that can also continue to grow. And that is, there's about, over 4 million on Instagram, over 1 million on LinkedIn, but there's more that we could be doing on both of those platforms and also YouTube and TikTok and the content that we're producing is allowing us to grow exponentially month over month. The engagement rates are amazing. So that can also continue to grow and grow and grow much more, not infinitely, but less finitely, than events. That is a really exciting, I think, prospect as we, project out over the next decade. There's going to be a lot of growth for us on the digital side.
I mean, 11 years from now, also, your daughter will be 15.
Oh,
correct?
Yes.
I'm sorry to be that.
No, my daughter will be 15, and we'll be at my son's bar mitzvah. It's very exciting. Thank you for planting that thought in.
Right. Let's throw that. There we go. Let's throw that right in there. So
thank you.
So let's think about it from her eyes.
Yeah.
So when she looks at the work you all are doing at Female Quotient at 15, what do you hope she thinks, she feels, and she does?
I hope she thinks, and really she knows, that she can take any path that she wants and know that she can be a leader in any field and anything that she does. Because I think representation is such an important piece. And if we are successful, there will be more women in leadership roles, and they can act as role models for my daughter. I would love that to be, one of the outcomes when she is thinking about college and what she wants to do, that like she sees women in leadership in any of those fields that she's interested in.
What if she's thinking about Ohio State though? Would that change the conversation?
Absolutely would change the conversation. That is off the table. That is the only thing where I would put up a fight is if she said she wanted to go to Ohio State. That is literally the only thing.
I did everything in my power to at least get beyond the 30-minute mark before I mentioned the fact that you went to Michigan. She's going to have that on her list now.
Literally the first, I don't know if I remember if I told you this, but one of the first things I had that taught my daughter was how to recognize the Michigan logo and the word so that she could yell "Go Blue" to people when they were wearing Michigan gear. And I thought that was a very big parenting one.
These are important steps. All right, let's go. So let's get into the feel. What do you hoping she from a feel standpoint?
Yeah. I want her to feel inspired and encouraged and excited about her future. And because I think that is also very important to not like approach very big life moments and life stages with, anxiety or trepidation. Like there will always be macro things that she can't control, but I want her to feel that there is enough in her control to have the agency to like go and try to do what she wants to do, and also feel supported by me, but also like from a society perspective, that would also be very nice.
I mean, you kind of mentioned the do side of it, like on what you want her to do, but is there anything else you'd add there?
You mean besides going to Michigan?
Well, okay, so you want her to go to Michigan. Got it. I'm tracking.
No, I mean, like I want her to do whatever, she wants to do. I don't want her to think that she has to, compromise any of her passions. I don't know what it is that she'll do quite yet. I have a feeling that she's going to run some shit someday. I'm very excited and proud to just, help in whatever way I can, but also just kind of watch her navigate the world. I'm just very fascinated by seeing the world through her eyes. And, she has no fear. She does do the things that like she wants to do and gets excited about. And I think that would be great if, in 11 years, she's still doing that.
This is as the Courageous podcast, you can't not sometimes bring up the concept that there's fear where there's courage, or you just can't get to one without the other.
Yeah.
Shelley Zalis. See, there we go.
Zalis.
Right. Shelley Zalis. She's she calls herself the chief troublemaker, but no, she's founder and CEO, Female Quotient. If she was on, and again, I'm gonna do that thing where I'm like, you gotta channel your inner Shelley for a minute. If she was on here, because the work is far from done. Like
yes.
The work is far from done, right? And so, what do you think she would say is her largest fear right now in continuing growth for Female Quotient?
Her largest fear.
I mean, we can call her in if you want to call her in and figure out. We can pause the episode and wait for a minute.
No, I don't know what her biggest fear might be. Her biggest fear, I think, would probably be that there maybe isn't, that there becomes a dearth of courage in different industries to continue the work and to partner at all these different events. And what we've seen has been very, I would say, like encouraging. And there's a lot of desire to continue to push the mission. And
I think that's fair. I think it's unfair of me to actually ask you that question. It's like putting words in her mouth. But I mean, maybe another way to say it is, I guess I was trying to be a little, hey, here's two men talking about the Female Quotient, right? And like really stepping in the shoes of, why Shelley started this, and it's come a long way in a decade. That's kind of where I was going.
No, it has, and I think the being just like aware and acknowledging that fact, that we are two men talking about this. There is, and I've talked about this with my team too. I was on a panel about women's health a couple of weeks ago, and I think that, again, there were like a lot of people that were like, what are you doing there? I can't talk about my firsthand experiences, but what I can do is, again, be an advocate and an ally and be someone who will, in an unwavering way, support every, important person and woman in my life. And when it comes to, health things, it's like I have women in my life who are going through and have gone through menopause. And I've been like aware of how that impacts their life and how they show up to work and relationships, having gone through multiple reproductive, cycles. And so, I can kind of speak to that and also try to help to the best that I can normalize men learning more, caring more about what women are going through and ensuring that in their daily lives and at work, that they are listened to, that it is a safe space, that I am as empathetic and definitely as sympathetic as possible to the fact that there are different experiences, that I don't know exactly what they're going through, but to the best that I can to be supportive, of what they want and need to be the best versions of themselves. And I think there is an important role for that. I'm not trying to say that I know more than any woman about women's health, but I do think that there is an important role, for action oriented allyship, that is a lot different than just kind of like, passive words.
Maybe you could take us home here on the episode. So if you were going to address men on what they can do, where do they start? And let me give you the doubler, right? I'll give you the two-parter.
Maybe.
And for women that are listening who probably want to hear like, finally, somebody gets us, somebody gets this moment, what do you want to share to them?
So I think to the men, like we can do more and do better. We can learn we can listen more. And, I think we have a lot of agency to do those things. And I think there are phenomenal resources out there. Female Quotient is one of them on, Instagram or LinkedIn. And there's a lot of other amazing, publications and research, just so you can get a better understanding of what, 50+% of the population is thinking about and going through, on a regular basis, and just be open to the fact that there are experiences that, that you may be foreign to you, that you need to be comfortable being a little uncomfortable and trying. To the women listening, I would say that there are, I think, a lot more men that are starting to, kind of like see and understand the way, and that I admire and deeply respect the women in my life and in the leadership roles and in business. I think getting back to the, kind of like feminine leadership qualities that we were talking about earlier, I think just please, keep leading by example and setting the right examples, not just for the next generation of women, but for the current and next generation of men too. We have a lot to learn, and I feel very inspired every day because I get to experience the leadership of people like Shelley and like Talia and everyone that we work with. I think I've probably grown as a person and as a leader more in the past year than I have at any other point in my life.
I wonder how many times it takes and I'm not saying this is a great thing, but I think it's a real thing. And I will primarily acknowledge this is for me too. But like you started is where I go. I'm like, I have a daughter. I mean, that feels like a t-shirt right there that I want to, right? Like that I wear, whether I wear it or not, right? I have a daughter, and like, I'm even part of the problem or part of the solution on creating a world where she feels that she can go do anything she wants. And it's like, it's kind of that simple, right? It's like, to me, it's that simple. It's a freedom story. And I'm sure I can only acknowledge in the amount of grit and resilience when you're the only woman in the room, right? That the path to that moment. I mean, every one of those stories is a book. I mean, maybe it's a story nobody, like, it's like, really, do I have to relive this again? Like, we should just fix the problem already. And I also want to give a major shout out to Nicole Miller, Kimberly Voorhees, the two of the women on my team who keep me aware. And there's been many rooms we've been in, even recently, where you're like, wow, thank you for bringing that to my attention. And it was, to be clear, it wasn't me. They're like, hey, this is what it was like from my shoes. And so I'm constantly learning. I love what you said about it's, unconscious bias until it isn't.
And it ends up being a decision at that point.
Yeah.
You're like, we can fix it. Like, if we can fix it and we're conscious about it, then like, let's fix it.
That's something else all of a sudden, right? Jason Schulweis, man. All right, last question, then you get your life back. You can be quick on this one.
Okay.
This is a happy moment. I want this to be a happy moment, by the way.
Okay.
Something that you're proud of yourself. When you think about the word courage, and it could be female quotient, it could be in home life, it could be something in your life right now.
Yeah.
That maybe there was some anxiety or fear, and you're like, you know what? And you went through with it, and it was a bit courageous. Can you share?
Yeah, I think part of what makes me is a focus on, I think faith and philanthropy, and a lot of that comes down to support of Judaism and the Jewish people, and I think at a time where it's very easy to be intimidated by a rise in anti-Semitism and a lot of things, and we don't make up a very large percentage of any population. I am proud of the work that I am doing at UJA. I am proud of the work that my family has done, both at places like UJA and the Jewish Foundation for the Righteous, and it's stuff that we will continue to do, that I'll continue to do, and it makes me feel good to to be able to be in a position to be able to do that and lead in that respect as well.
See, we need another hour. This is the wrong topic. It's a great topic, and also the wrong topic to drop at the 50-minute mark. But it's what I get for asking the question, and I think it's a really tricky time for lots of groups, and I feel it too. You're in New York. I mean, you're in it, right? Which might be a good way to say, can you please send me like some schmear or bagels? San Diego is not great in the bagel arena. I know it seems like a tough shift from something courageous. It's kind of courageous for me to shift to, I need don't just do the Zabars either, if possible. But we got to be better, San Diego. Okay, this is where I'm being courageous right now in the bagel scene.
I can ship you out also some authentic New York tap water, so you can DIY it.
Do you believe that to be true? That it's the water?
I don't know otherwise, so I'm gonna go. It makes sense. It tracks. I don't know.
This is worth doing some detective work on.
This is probably worth. I feel like like a Last Week Tonight segment on New York City tap water and its usage in bagels and pizza. But you must have good smoked fish, no?
Yeah, we can get around there. We're close to LA, I mean.
All right, okay.
But all right, we've completely buried the hero of this conversation. It's all on me. Keep doing the work you're doing, man. And
thank you.
Thank you for enlightening me and making me a little bit more thoughtful about the way I go about my world. And I'm trying to be better. I'm not saying I was bad, by the way, but I think about that dinner last night. It's like, okay, now it's on me and what I do moving forward. Jason, absolute pleasure, man. I'm so glad we got to jam. Keep me posted on the next 11.
I will keep you posted on the next 11. Thank you so much for having me on. It was great. I love doing this. Thank you, Ryan.
Good stuff, buddy.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Courageous Podcast. If you enjoy the show, don't forget to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts so more people can find us. See you again next week.